From places to sit and admire nature, to the stacks and lists of books, education materials, and classes.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Our public library system is changing and adapting with the times. Take a look as we introduce you to some of the friendly faces running the programs.
I love my brown shoes.
And the places that nurture a love of learning in this episode of the 502 Report. Hello, and welcome to this episode of the 502 Report. There have been many changes to Louisville's library system since the first location opened at York Street in 1908. And your libraries continue to adapt and provide quality service to patrons on a now reduced operating budget.
There are several places where the impact of our current budget are going to be most evident. They will see it primarily in the branch that is closed and in the reduced services at Middletown when it does reopen. They'll also see it in a smaller collection that means longer wait times. One of the biggest challenges that we've had is that in the run-up to the end of the fiscal year, because of the way that the whole budget proposal process went, we had a lot of vacant positions that we were keeping open because we were anticipating that July 1st, our libraries would be open for a lot fewer hours each week. Our hours didn't change, but we had the staffing level to support those reduced hours. So it's really created a lot of stress on our staff because every location is short-staffed. We're using overtime right now just to have enough staff to keep the doors open. It's also created an extra workload on our business office because we have all of these positions that are vacant, so we're really having to advertise. Ironically, we're having to advertise and fill a lot of positions. We have 9 full-time positions that were eliminated at the beginning of this fiscal year, and they weren't public service positions, so they didn't impact the number of hours that we're able to be open to the public, but they have impacted the capacity that we have to support the operation of the library system. We know that we're not going to be able to do the same amount of outreach with a reduced staff, and we're not going to be able to offer the same amount of programming with a reduced staff, but we are able to be open and allow the public to come in and use our computers and meeting rooms and check out materials from our collection. But it really has had an impact on what we're able to do beyond that to get out into the community. When people come to the library, often what they want to do, despite what people say, they want to check out materials. And as the portion of our budget that is devoted to personnel grows, what that also means is that we have less money to spend to buy materials. So people, particularly people who are looking for newly published books and very popular materials, what they'll find is that we have fewer copies of those, that their wait is longer for things that there's a wait list for, because we really need more money to buy more materials, and we just don't have it with the budget that we've got this year. We did increase fines several years ago to try and increase some revenue. The reality of fines, though, is that it's a very, very small percentage of our budget. There's a line item in our budget for revenues from things like that, and it's around $250,000 or $300,000 against a $23 million budget. So it's a very small amount. There's also a reality with fines that as the amount goes up, the likelihood of people ever paying them actually goes down. So there's a trend right now where libraries all across the country are eliminating overdue fines and finding that people return items more consistently because they don't have the shame or potentially the financial hardship of having to pay fines. One thing that is done in some cities is, for example, the beautiful 1908 building on York Street. In some cities, you would be able to rent that for special events and have your wedding there at a time when it was not open to the public for library use. We also have at our Northeast Regional, which just opened, there's a historic home on the campus there, as well as a large lawn between the library and the historic home. So we're looking into the possibilities of doing a rentable event space, both an outdoor space on the lawn, as well as what it would take at the house to be able to rent that out for special events. So there are all sorts of possibilities. We're considering everything, but it is difficult for us because we're limited in what we can charge for, because by state law, library services always have to be free at our library. It's in our name. How I would sort of summarize where we are now and what's happening in the future is When the Library Master Plan was adopted by Metro Council in 2008, it projected the capital projects that would need to be done in order to have the library system that we wanted to have by the year 2020. It also projected the operating budget that we would need to run that library system, and it projected that we would need $29 million per year to operate the library system. We have seen the community come together and work very hard to build some magnificent world-class libraries, but what is missing is that the additional operating dollars needed to operate that library system have just not been there. And if we don't see those, we can still have a great library system. Our staff are talented and dedicated. We can provide materials, but we will not be able to operate as many locations as we are operating now without additional revenue in the future.
If you'd like to help support the libraries, you can donate through the Library Foundation at lfplfoundation.org/giving, or support by volunteering with Friends of the Library at friendsofthelfpl.org. Now that the Northeast Library is complete, the third and final of Louisville's regional libraries, 90% of residents are within 5 miles of a library location.
It's a really neat space.
Lots of windows.
It's a beautiful place. We are super thrilled that it's here.
It's huge. I like all the books too.
It just makes people happy to be here.
The facility is amazing, and when it's a nice day like today, I sit outside on the patio.
For so long in this community, people have really had two kinds of libraries to choose from. They could come to the main library, or they could go to their local library. If you needed something that wasn't in your small neighborhood library's collection, you had to drive all the way to the main library to get it. And when you start getting out toward the edge of the county, that's a really long way. These regional libraries give people access locally to a much larger collection of resources, more robust programming, and sort of world-class library facilities. They give us an example for people of what a library really can be.
They're really going out of their way to make this a place for everybody that, even if you didn't think the library was for you, that you'll find something that you'll love.
We're trying to sort of listen to people and learn from national trends and be creative, but also build something that has appeal for everyone.
I think it's amazing. I think it's good too.
We come here once, if not multiple times a week.
We like to come here and get books that bring us on different adventures.
We homeschool our kids, so this is a great resource for us for books and learning.
Well, out of all the kids, we get 2 every day because Mom doesn't want us taking all the books in the library.
We love the facility. We come and, as we're doing now, having lunch and letting the dog get out and have some fun.
Man, it's awfully nice to shape our own lives and the community that we serve. The architectural decisions we've made were so driven by the program of the particular place. So to make the facade of Southwest feel more like a little Main Street, to kind of vary the ins and outs and ups and downs of the form. South Central was a totally different thing. Even though it also is in the suburbs, that forest changed everything for us, that the decisions we made with the materials were all about reflecting the surroundings. And then this is that totally open, just very wide open to its surroundings. We went out of our way to shape the building and really nuzzle it in amongst the trees so that on day one you saw right there front and center how mature this historic landscape was.
So this is all part of an evolution of libraries, and it's been great to work with our design and architecture teams in building these libraries to experiment with different things.
As they enter and start to wander, they'll find just a wide variety of experiences, both sound level, the height of the ceiling to make it feel more intimate and personal. A lot of times you'll see those along the perimeter of the space. The amount of light too, the quality of light, that discovery moment, that kind of the adventure of discovering the building, while I'm sure is a little stressful for parents sometimes, is really fun for us to kind of create a single space that through furniture and through the bookcases, the things you'll find in any library, it really crafts an experience that is just super varied and hopefully compelling to explore.
The library used to be like the pharmacy, that the librarian sat behind a big imposing desk, and when you had a question, you worked up the nerve to go up and ask the librarian a question. if it seemed like you might not be interrupting some other work.
You don't have to use it.
And so what we want is for our staff to be not behind a desk where you have to go and look for them, but to be out engaging with the people who are there and available to help people.
Every time you go, you'll have a different experience, which is part of the idea here. Is it really isn't a static thing. It's designed for change. Between the floors and just the furniture, you'll see a lot of things on wheels that really accommodates that change in a wonderful way. Just to the side is this maker suite. Pretty much every day of the week, there is something going on. It's probably something different than the day before and the day after. Creating these 4 spaces from the maker room to the green room to the demonstration kitchen, which is more of a lecture arrangement for the room, and then the screen porch being an extension of that. They can do everything from conventional programming to being able to open up all 3 rooms to each other. You could have as many as 150 people. All the walls up to 10 feet are glass marker boards. Every time I walk in here, it's something a little bit different on the walls, and you can tell where the artists have been that really add something to the space.
Ooh, look at this one.
One of the most popular features at our Northeast Regional Library is we put in a slide that goes down into the children's area, and it has been hugely popular with the children, not so much with the adults.
It's upside down.
And so we're really trying to create a place where all of those people can come together and coexist. And as people change and our culture changes, we have to kind of read those changes and evolve with it.
It is there. Getting to work on projects like this is such an immense responsibility, but also such a joy, because there's no greater feeling than knowing that this is connecting to the community. I just encourage people to come and see it for themselves.
In addition to traditional materials, laptop rentals, and maker spaces, did you know you can check out telescopes at the library? Thanks to a partnership with the Louisville Astrological Society, each regional branch has 2 telescopes that can be checked out by patrons ages 18 and over for 1 week at a time.
We bring them out to outreaches and other places that we go, and people are like, I didn't know you had those, So it's been a wonderful experience to have them and really provide yet another really great service for our patrons.
One children's librarian is taking to the road to help promote library programs and fill in the gap at branches in West and Southwest Louisville.
Oh, look at this. Stuff I pulled for a 2nd grade class the other day. Gaston, an adorable little puppy who's working through some existential crisis. Hello, hot dog. Super fun. Anytime you get to make the voice like a hot dog, gonna be a winner. Sometimes the people who need services most are people who can't access the library for a number of reasons: transportation, work, library hours. This position came about because of the need to bring the library to people. Okay, let's do this. We're back. I have flyers in the children's department to pick up. Thank you. We are going to Shively. Driving machine. They've had some staff turnover recently. Yeah, I try to draw people into the library branches and just let them know what services are available that they may be interested in. But yes, I do lots of programming. We're gonna hit up some pediatric offices. I'm just gonna see if they'll let me leave a little stack of these. They're adorable. How's it going? I just was wondering if I could leave some little flyers about story time at the Shively branch. All right, let me try this. Do you want some flyers about some special programs?
The other day I had to babysit for a mom. She was in really bad tooth pain and she had a 2-year-old with her. So it would have been really nice to have other stuff to keep her busy.
Yeah, we can make a little reading corner.
That would be awesome.
Yeah, we can figure that out. Let's do that. I think that sounds cool.
I have Daughters Unto Devils. I got it at the Southwest Library.
That does sound pretty awesome. There's a fella there who does amazing drawing programs. Do you want some other flyers about programs?
I'll have these sitting up all pretty for you.
I appreciate it. Have a good day.
You too.
You're personally invited to the library. What do you need?
Trees were an important consideration in the placement of the regional libraries. Several different types of trees that were cut down to make way for the South Central Regional Library have been repurposed in tables, seats, and even art. Be sure to look out for them the next time you stop by. South Central is also home to a unique program you might not expect to find in a library, and it's all thanks to some creativity and funding from District 24. Several different types of trees that were cut down to make way for the South Central Regional Library have been repurposed in tables, seats, and even art. Be sure to look out for them the next time you stop by. South Central is also home to a unique program you might not expect to find in a library, and it's all thanks to some creativity and funding from District 24.
We wanted to do something that would be a wow factor, something that no one else had done. James Blanton, who was the director at the time that we were building, he was doing some research and he called me and he was so excited. He said, I think I found the program. Every month, a new artist will bring their talent to the library. It may be a musician, it may be a dancer, it may be a quilter.
And so that's how we ended up with a studio space. They decided to call it the Collider Artist in Residence program. The thinking behind that being that in science, a collider smashes particles together to make something. And in this instance, we take art and our library community, our patrons, and we put them together to make something beautiful. One of our most recent artists is Shyama Iyer. She has done South Indian classical dance.
Which costume is your favorite?
It's one of my greatest joys to share my art with people who might have never heard of it before. The workshop tonight is Takademi, Indian rhythm. In Western music, maybe we would say boo-bop, dee-bop. Brother Srirangan is going to be playing a drum called the mridangam. So it's a very integral part of South Indian classical dance. And it's also really exciting, I think, for kids or anybody of any age to kind of really see that instrument and see how people play it. So I'm trying to really include parts that we know about music and things we know about movement and kind of take it in a different viewpoint through the Indian lens.
So now stand up. We're gonna make those rhythms with our feet. Long, quick, quick. Long, quick, quick. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Awesome, good job.
Indian dance is just a way of communicating, and every human being needs to communicate. So every human being can experience it in their own way.
1, 2.
Go to lfpl.org/collider to learn more about each month's Collider artists and their events. Each library location offers accommodation to members of the community who are deaf, hard of hearing, and visually impaired.
So here at the Louisville Free Public Library, we offer numerous services for our visually and hearing impaired patrons. At numerous locations, we have the JAWS computer system, which is a system that is designed for those who are visually impaired to increase the size of the display on the computer screen.
LFPL's book discussion kits have everything you need for a successful proofreading experience.
JAWS aids the visually impaired by providing on-screen voiceover of the display.
L-I-B-R-A-R.
We have the Sorenson video relay for those who are hearing impaired. It is a go-between so that the person that they are calling can type a message and then the translator will translate through American Sign Language. Both the JAWS and the Sorenson are on select computers at the library, and library staff are available to assist anyone needing to use those computers. We offer the hearing loop technology at numerous locations for hearing impaired for those who attend programs at the library.
It's currently listed as number 2 on the New York Times bestseller list, but I've just learned it's number 1 on the Washington Post bestseller list.
The main library's auditorium and Centennial Room, along with some of our larger meeting rooms at our other regional locations and our St. Matthew's branch. To use a hearing loop, patrons need only to flip a switch on their hearing aids to activate the telecoil. Headsets are also available for checkout during programs. In addition, both our main branch and Crescent Hill branch are part of the Nearby Explorer app, which visually impaired citizens can have on their personal devices that will give directions within the library. One neat thing is that the Nearby Explorer app was created at the American Printing House here in Louisville, Kentucky.
Nearby Explorer is an app that runs on the iPhone or Android. Our newest version that we have released is focusing on indoor navigation. So when you get the app installed and you're walking into a venue, your phone is searching for the beacons. And then as you move, it's going to be picking up how far you are from a beacon to kind of relay what points of interest you're going by. We might have a beacon, for example, above the bathroom. What happens is that beacon communicates with your phone, and as you move, it's looking at where you are on the map and placing you. So it's going to say, for example, men's room, 20 feet on the right. And then as you're moving, it's kind of picking up beacons and reporting your positioning.
We are here for all the citizens of Louisville. If anyone comes in with a request, regardless of any impairments, we are here to do our best to meet their needs.
Over the years, many of Louisville's small neighborhood libraries have closed or been consolidated. One that remains has a rich and vibrant history.
This is a very historical corner. We have a lot of good times here, enjoying that history that people share with us. This is the first African-American library in the nation ran by a completely African-American staff. They couldn't stay very long. Like if they went to the main library, they had certain hours in a very short time frame or they would be asked to leave. So the petition was created to have this built so African-Americans would have their own library so they could learn. I learn every day from patrons that come back in and say, this was my library as a child. It just meant a lot to the community to have a place to go that was theirs. The children loved it here. They would come and enjoy story time. Professor Cotter had a thing called the Cotter Cup, which was a storytelling contest with the children for however well they told the stories. There's so many hidden stories. Every day we're going through and we're finding something that's like, wow. Let me get my gloves. I always have to have my gloves. We have a lot of documents that are in here. Lovely box here. Making sure this was preserved for the future. This was actually down inside of here with other newspapers. This is a diploma from the Louisville Color School of Arthur Simpson Starks. High school diplomas don't come this big anymore. We do not know who Arthur is, but we are going to start researching to see if we can trace Arthur's history. It's very important to hang on to documents like this so that the stories can be told. That's been a huge project for us to go through and keep indexing. We've still got a long ways to go. We have a lot of boxes. If we don't preserve it and hold on to it, then those stories fade. I talked to library administration about the possibility of applying to get money to preserve the archives. So I had to do all the paperwork and the groundwork and all the speeches for it, and we got lucky. We were able to get some money to start to digitize because otherwise we would not be able to do that. I do feel like there is a very heavy weight that sits on my shoulders because this is a lot of history to preserve and to protect.
You'll have to make an appointment if you're interested in checking out the Western Library's archives, and note their hours are a little different to help better serve their community's after-school and work patrons. William Sutton is a children's librarian at the Portland branch who loves sharing his love of learning with some of Louisville's littlest members of the community.
If you're happy and you know it, then your face will surely show it. If you're happy and you know it, do the floss.
I love kids. They're just so fun and full of energy and so full of excitement and wonder. I'm in many ways a big kid at heart, and so the kid in me, when I see them, it comes out and relates to the kid in them. There are just so few career choices that allow you to be a kid and to use and utilize the creativity that is on the inside you, that wonderment and that what if. When we get to the age of being responsible for bills, there aren't too many opportunities for that, and so I'm glad that I get to do that.
Groovy, he says. I love my brown shoes. I love my brown shoes.
What I get to do here at the neighborhood house is share story times with the Child Care Development Center and the kids there. And it's always an awesome, fun, energizing time with the kids. And I love it because they just, every time I come, they make me feel like a rock star. And so it's awesome. They just enjoy the books and songs and rhymes that I get to share with them. Working in children's services within the library, one of the main things that we get to do is to touch the community wherein our particular location is located. It's one of the favorite things that I get to do. It introduces children to books and the actual physical activity of going through a book and flipping through the pages and having that anticipation of what's on that next page and what's going to come next after this and what is that character going to face, what are they going to do. And it creates, I think, an appetite for reading. They get to learn words and get to learn about pictures that go with the story. I think it creates a building block that they can just continue to build on that goes really throughout their whole lives, and hopefully creates that love for reading, and that propels them into all aspects of their education. As with a lot of things, it's best to catch young folks early. Their minds are developing at a young age, at a very young age, and so they're able to take those things in. So I think when they get that kind of learning and get that kind of activity early, then it helps them as they grow to even absorb it more and absorb it more easily.
So you guys want to help me with the Pete the Cat book?
Yeah! Of the jobs that I've had, I really enjoy this one the most. A library can be an important cornerstone of a community. It allows patrons of all ages to have access to books and items that they might not otherwise have access to. You're able to walk into a library and have the world at your fingertips. We do, I believe, affect people's lives for the good, and so it's a needed resource.
It's all good.
Yeah, he likes his shoes.
He does like his shoes.
When I bring the books and the kids are really excited, a lot of that has to do with that human interaction. It's really important because no matter how much technology develops, we've got to have relationships. Humans are social beings. We've got to develop that interaction between each other. And so that's what I get out of my visits.
Now's the time to say goodbye. I'll see you next time. All right. I'll see.
We're lucky that our library system not only rents out books and has reading programs, but encourages a love of learning. To learn more about some of the programs available in the community, go to lfpl.org.